Hi, I'm Mark Carter, and this is a program on presentation skills. And this is the first part of that, which is looking at one of our most important tools when we're presenting, and that is better use of our voice. There's 7 principles here that you can work with and start to refine in order to present far more powerfully, whether that is as a leader in your business, as a person selling to your audiences, or just for generally more improved communication with people you're dealing with. The first one is animation, being animated. Animation is what ignites interest. Animation makes the conversation dynamic and engaging. And what's animation? It's really putting energy into your voice and projecting it better. The second one is enunciation. And that's really the art of being clear rather than confusing. It's speaking with clarity, speaking clearly so that people can hear you. A lot of people might mumble or talk down, and so really being aware to project your voice outwards and speak clearly so people can hear you. Third one, a personal favorite, punctuation. It's amazing how many times where people start presenting or they're speaking, nerves take over, and so what they might start doing is stringing lots of sentences together. And that's a bit like a train coming at you, like with a whole load of weight. Punctuation exists in books for a reason. When you see a full stop, it means to take a pause. And so it is with presenting. If you see an exclamation mark, it's get excited, and so get excited with your voice. If you see a question mark, it's a question, and so therefore be aware of the intonation and ask a question. So awareness of punctuation and using punctuation in how you're speaking rather than just stringing everything together is a super powerful way of leveraging your voice powerfully. Description. You know, one of my favorite authors, Bryce Courtney, does this well as a writer. He can really put you in the picture so you can see what he's explaining, feel what he's explaining. A picture speaks 1,000 words. Well, when you say the right words with description, it allows people to see and feel that for themselves. It engineers a vision. It ignites the senses on a whole new level. And so really putting some thought around the descriptions you're using and having color and flair to the language is a great way of lifting your game when you're presenting. Vocabulary. There's been studies done that show there's a perception to do with vocabulary, being if you've got a broader vocabulary and you know how to use it correctly, people perceive you as being smarter and more intelligent, and there's a good chance you can get promoted further or have a higher income. Because it's a perception. Now, the opposite of that is sometimes projecting language, super vocabulary and powerful vocabulary that people just don't understand. And so it's an art form of balancing, stretch your vocabulary, use new words, use them correctly, but don't overpitch to the audience that you're presenting to. It can come across as a bit obnoxious as well. But awareness of your vocabulary. I remember somebody taught me a long time ago that just learning new words periodically and how to use them is a great way to extend your vocabulary. If you learn one new word, you learn several others just by default off the back of that. Volume. You know, there's some people that just love to yell like this, and then there's some people that when they talk, you can barely hear a word they're saying. Volume's important, but what's also important with volume is having some texture with it, some pace. It's kind of like using punctuation. There's times to lift your voice and project that energy. There's times to bring it down to a whisper and bring people in. And that kind of leads to the last one, the 7th one, which I just did, because it's silence. The pregnant pause. There's a time to listen. And when you're presenting, that pause, that silence, is sometimes what allows the audience to catch up with you and let it sink in so they can hear and understand what you're saying. And silence can be underutilized when people are presenting because they're so keen to get their message across. So if you look at the list, there's 7 voice influences. There's others you could consider, but these are 7 core ones to make sure you get the best use of your voice in terms of presenting and lifting your game as a presenter.